Good afternoon, folks. This is your friendly neighborhood school psychologist, Jessica Shepard. I am trying something new. So this is me taking a step out of my comfort zone, but also at the same time wanting to be very effective in the way that information is provided to you. That's something that, as a school improvement system and just professionally, I think is something I need to grow on. So this is my first attempt at that. I'm utilizing some new software, something I've never used before, so I hope that you are patient with me through this process. But basically the whole goal behind this video, I will hopefully be recording a couple today, is to provide you with some general SPED updates. You will have, in the email that I sent you with this video, you will also have all of the links and the information that I share with you, and hopefully I'll show you some of that and highlight some of that in the video now so that you have those highlights, and then you have the material to go back and read through if you would like as well. So I'm going to look at what we have first. So you'll see special education updates. This is a file that will be shared with you. It is for the school year of 16-17. I know we're nearing the end of this, but better late than never. So looking at all the way from August to February, you can see that there are some updates listed there. Anywhere you see a blue link is where you're going to see something that you can access. So, for example, Transition Conference, which I will be doing another video on, specifically because I think there's some really cool things I want to highlight there and make sure that those that work with transition specifically have an opportunity to access that information. But you can certainly look through that. Basically, that's just conference summary information from everyone that attended that conference. Of course, this is February 10th, so there's ACT alignment document that is indicated there. That should have been sent to those that it probably applies to, but you can certainly access it here if you need. There's also a Nebraska accommodation crosswalk, and this is kind of an interesting document that I believe I recently shared with staff that can maybe provide you with a little bit of information about maybe what the NISA accommodation was and then what that would look like on the ACT. So again, that's been shared with you, but it's here again if you need it. And then a schedule of events as well, if you're wondering where you're at in that process. We're probably all settling down to begin some of that ACT stuff, so that is something you can access if you have questions. Okay, there was an update also related to special education from Valerie Foy that was emailed recently, and that is in regards to some of that ACT help information and where you can go to get that. Also just an outline quickly of some of those dates. So we are in that area of some of those accommodation uploads, and then looking forward to when that test will be administered. And some general rules as well as to what the ACT requires. Again, that's all within this document that you can access through the link in your email. I want to bring attention to the excuse me, the Central Community College Health Science Education Fair is occurring April 5th. This is, you can access the registration form here. Through this link. Basically what's happening here is that this year ESU 9 is no longer in charge of the transition grant, and so ESU 11 is now in charge of it this year, and they have decided to do something a little bit different, and so they're teaming up with Central Community College. So those of you that are eligible, you can complete this information and have your students attend this fair. Let's see, one of Professional Development has released their summer calendar. You've probably received this a couple different ways. Certainly look through that. As far as special education goes and what might be relevant to you guys, Behavior Doctor is coming, and so is Anita Archer. And those might be two that you want to highlight as well. So way back in on November 29th, we had an opportunity to work with Karen Haase. She spoke to ESUs across the state. So this is a document, again, you can access through this link there. I've got it up on my window already. So this provides us with information about the handouts. And she talked to us about a lot of special education issues. Nothing that I don't think is highlighted later Talked about least restrictive environment. I thought this continuum was very interesting and helpful as we look towards some of those behavior students, as far as what the court system sees as being least restrictive to most restrictive. That can help us with some of our more difficult students. And then she also hit on some of that current placement stuff. Those of you that do PBIS, there is a Dear Colleague letter that has come across as well. It has a lot of good information about PBIS. Basically, what this is telling us is that we don't want to put anything in our students' IEPs and state that behavior is being covered by what is already done as a school-wide improvement system. So you can certainly read through that information, look at our handouts if you're interested in that. I won't take up any more of your time because I think what might be more relevant to you is this special education law conference. You can access the notes that I took while I was there, but there were some key school takeaways that I think were definitely very important. And some of these are one of the main things that is hit on a couple different times is the suspension issue. And basically what I will highlight here is that any time that we remove a student from their educational environment, we need to be counting that towards their 10 days. And so this can be even if a student is taken out of the classroom and brought to the principal's office, if that is a significant change to their placement, which more than likely it is. She talks about how you can have placements where this happens, but basically what you have to have is like a certified teacher. You have to have very clear set up rules in a different classroom where the student is essentially still getting all of the things that they're getting from their regular placement, just in a different environment. That's the only time that she would kind of justify that the student is not having a change of placement and it doesn't need to be counted. So this is something that we need to think about, I think, as we look at student IEPs in the future for those kiddos that maybe end up in the office, if there's a way that we can make it so that's a part of their plan as a way for them to cool down, as a way for them to gather their thoughts, or just that they might function better in that environment sometimes. Certainly it's going to depend upon the student. So that was one thing that I think was a big takeaway for me and something we need to look at in our students' IEPs. And that goes back to, even when we do manifest determination, we need to make sure that our IEP is being followed. There were some other hits here for school districts. I took the summary information overall, trying to skim really quickly and see if there's anything else I wanted to highlight. Maybe just not having a blanket policy for students. I'm not sure that any of us are in this boat at this point, but just looking for the future, making sure we don't do that. So another piece of information here, the last update I received as far as a SPED director call goes is January 31st. You can access Jessica Moore's notes there, basically talking about current legislation, alternative diplomas, prior written notice, and disproportionality. Also, dates for upcoming meetings and trainings, and restraint and seclusion was touched on. Prior written notice has a link to it. Basically, this is the link to the document that we received. I did send it out to resource teachers. At this point in time, ESU 9, this is basically a guidance document. At this point, ESU 9 is recommending that we do not change our practices at this point. What we are going to do is essentially kind of look at what the state decides to do with this and how SRS is considering making changes to forms so that we can maybe meet this more effectively. So I do not want to see anybody creating new forms for this. So at this point, we will just tentatively be on hold, and I will keep you posted as to what we expect in the future for that. I just have a short legislative update looking at LB 595 that advanced on the 13th. And so that will be put forward to the legislature so that basically it's just out of committee is all that's staying. All that is saying. I'll make sure this link is live. I'm not sure that copied over so that you can actually access that. I do have some other legislative updates as well that I received just from a state organization, so I will go ahead and add those. That just occurred to me. So that you have access to some of those, at least to some of those numbers. This is definitely a time when there's a lot going on in our legislature as far as special education is concerned. So All right, I feel like I have talked for too long already, but please access those documents. I'm just trying to get information out to you so that you have access to it. If you have questions, please let me know. So until next time, thank you guys, and you have a wonderful rest of your week.